Preparedness, why Ken's wrong. Preparedness for impending disasters, real or imagined, seems to be a big preoccupation for Ken Wheeler. Find out about his hoarding and bug-out behaviours and the odd attitude that seems to underlie them. Since the end of World War II, a loosely organized coterie of people fearing an impending outbreak of civil disorder has existed in the United States and elsewhere. They've had various names over the years, including retreaters, survivalists, and preppers. Their activities emphasize self-reliance, stockpiling supplies, owning remote wilderness retreats, and learning survival skills. Not everyone who's interested in disaster preparedness is a violent fanatic, but observers have always noticed a strong undercurrent of firearm fervency within the prepper movement. As the New York Times columnist Neil Genslinger put it, what these folks want most of all is not to protect their families, the standard explanation for why they're doing what they're doing, or even the dubious pleasure of being able to say to the rest of us, see, I told you the rest of the world was going to end. What they want is a license to open fire. For quite a while now, Ken Wheeler has been promoting ideas around firearms proficiency, self-reliance, stockpiling supplies, and gaining wilderness survival skills. To that end, the Theoria Apophasis host has bought himself a cabin in the woods and acquired other parcels of remote, cheap, unserviced land. The Theoria Apophasis host insists he's not a Chicken Little. Instead, he says he simply has a gift for situational awareness and keeping his head on a swivel. Ken Wheeler reports that he's been aware of the coming catastrophe for the last 20 years. The irony that 2 decades have passed without any of his predictions coming true seems lost on him. The angry photographer cherry-picks current events through a lens of paranoia. His confirmation bias interprets events based on his apocalyptic, conspiratorial worldview of an impending catastrophe. This belief in preparedness for an imminent boogaloo also seems to stem from Ken Wheeler's belief that he's an unappreciated genius who's made several revolutionary discoveries. Unfortunately for him, neither people around the angry photographer in real life nor recognized experts accept his outlandish views. As a result, he receives a great deal of scorn and ridicule when he shares his odd ideas with others. Another driver of Ken Wheeler's preparedness proclivities is his conspiracist temperament. He doesn't trust authority figures like doctors, scientists, teachers, or the health officials who made rules about the pandemic like social distancing, masks, and vaccines. The angry photographer tells his viewers that all governments are inherently evil and controlled by a hidden, sinister cabal. The Theoria Apophasis producer claims to fear the rise of a totalitarian government in the United States that will take away everyone's liberty. He also seems to fear an invasion by an evil empire and one or more staged natural disasters to conceal fiendish plots. In preparation for all this, the angry photographer maintains a bug-out bag. He tells his viewers that it contains over $2,800 worth of gear, whereas a typical deluxe survival kit costs less than $200. Ken Wheeler can barely lift this bag, and he says it takes 4 hours to pack or unpack. Fake expert to the end, he brags, I can honestly say that there's nobody on this earth that has a better go bag. Apart from a few sensible things like a first aid kit and some ready-to-eat meals, the bug-out bag reflects the Theoria Apophasis creator's penchant for gadget hoarding. It includes numerous unwieldy but impressive-looking combat knives, military-grade water filters, and massive reels of industrial-strength cordage. The enormous canvas pack also contains several portable stoves with naphtha gas canisters, primitive fire starting kits, sacks of dried seeds, surgical tubing, shortwave and weather radios, headlamps, multiple hand-cranked and battery-powered flashlights, cases of assorted batteries, battery chargers, and lots of camouflage. Although he's oddly coy about it, one gets the impression that the kit also contains numerous firearms and related ammunition, which seems to explain its weight and wildly exorbitant budget. This outfit might make sense for a team of Army Rangers parachuting behind enemy lines, but it's not what emergency management experts mean by a go bag. Kentucky Ken's inclusion of firearms tends to confirm Genslinger's impression of trigger-happy survivalists. The YouTuber behind Theoria Apophasis displays enormous satisfaction, describing his readiness to open fire to defend his property against the hordes unleashed by society's imminent breakdown. In the type of run-of-the-mill emergency for which a sensible household might keep a go bag, Ken Wheeler's massive duffel would be virtually worthless. His demonstration video shows that he couldn't carry his enormous pack for more than 10 meters if his life depended on it. In addition to his hardware gadgets, the Theoria Apophasis host maintains a hoard of non-perishable food items. He claims to have enough food stocks in place to last him for at least 18 months. Also, while insisting he's a teetotaler, the creator of Theoria Apophasis' food list encourages readers to hoard alcohol, especially vodka. In his view, vodka will become the new currency during the coming apocalypse. Since Ken Wheeler doesn't drink, presumably, he plans to exploit this weakness in others in his post-apocalyptic fantasy. Sadly for him, in a world with no governments or revenue agencies, anyone would be free to ferment or distill their own alcohol. The angry photographer seems to think his disaster preparedness will make him an indispensable and independently wealthy warlord the minute the SHTF shit hits the fan. And yet, for 2 decades now, that moment has never come. There's no reason to think it ever will.